So today we're going to talk about Medicaid planning. It is a really important thing for people to start looking at, even when they are not at the stage where they're thinking about spending time in a nursing home. There are a lot of options for how to pay for your long-term care that don't involve getting rid of every single asset that you own. So we're going to talk about a couple of those different planning options that are available to you when you're thinking about how you're going to pay for long-term care when you get older. First of all, I want to start off by saying this is a really, really important concern. 70% of people over the age of 65 will spend some time in a nursing home, and the average length of stay is almost 3 years. Given that the average cost of care in a nursing home is around $10,000 in Ohio, you can see how this expense is going to really, really add up. And people, aside from the ultra wealthy, typically do not have enough assets to pay for their nursing home care for as long as they're going to probably need it. And so we have to look at how we can introduce Medicaid as a way of assisting in paying for nursing home care. Now, before we start talking about Medicaid and qualification and things like that, I want to say that the easiest way for you to plan for your long-term care is to get long-term care insurance. Long-term care insurance is just an insurance policy to pay for long-term care when you get older. You can choose the terms of this insurance like any other insurance policy. You can choose how much coverage you will have monetarily each year that you're in a nursing home, how long this coverage will last. There's a lot of variables to it. I would say that for people that are interested in this, you should probably be under the age of 60 in order to get reasonable policies. And of course, the sooner you start these policies, the more cost effective they will be. I will also add as a little caveat there that there are some workplaces that offer long-term care insurance as a benefit. And a lot of people don't sign up for it because they're like, well, that's $5 a month. I don't really know what it's necessary, things like that. But it's really, really helpful because I have seen so many clients come to me that their parent usually has lost all of their assets because they got sick and they had to go to a nursing home. So if you can have coverage that will pay for this, it is worth looking into. Now, not everyone that comes to see me is in a good situation to go and get a long-term care insurance policy, usually because they're older, they may have some health problems, and sometimes that's why they're coming to see me. So the next option is the idea of doing a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. This is an irrevocable trust that you put typically your house, maybe some other assets that you don't need. You place them in this irrevocable trust. And then if you go more than 5 years before applying for Medicaid, anything that you've placed in that trust will not be considered an asset for purposes of qualifying for Medicaid. The other thing that they do, and I will talk about this in another video, but the other thing that a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust can do is protect your assets from Medicaid estate recovery. Ohio has an incredibly aggressive estate recovery program where after you pass away, if you've received any benefits from Medicaid, they will file a claim against your estate. And they will seek to have all of the money that they have paid out on your behalf, they seek to be reimbursed. This is when you often hear about people losing the house. They are losing it to Medicaid estate recovery because of that claim that occurs after death. However, anything that's in a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust for more than 5 years before applying for Medicaid, that will be protected from Medicaid estate recovery. And that's a big key that the vast majority of people that come to talk to me about Medicaid planning, they don't know about Medicaid estate recovery, and it's where a lot of people get very tripped up. Now, if you've come to me and you don't have 5 years until you have to apply for Medicaid or your loved one has to apply for Medicaid, the next thing we're going to talk about is what's called a Medicaid crisis spend down. This is when we take a look at your assets and your income and we see how far away you are from qualifying for Medicaid. Medicaid, the rules are very complicated. They're pretty stringent. Someone that's applying to go into Medicaid can only have $2,000 in assets. Now, it can be a different situation if they have what we call a community spouse, which is someone that is still living out in the community, usually in the residence. And then you have what's called the institutionalized spouse. There's some things that you can do when you have a married couple, but generally speaking, that institutionalized spouse will have to get their assets down to under $2,000 in order to qualify for Medicaid. They also have to qualify by having income under a certain amount. So a lot of people think, oh, this is where I have to like spend all my money in order to qualify for Medicaid. So I get down to under the $2,000 threshold amount. However, this is where you come to see an attorney like me or another Medicaid experienced attorney, because there are a lot of things that can be done to take your assets and still use them for your benefit. So the fourth option for dealing with long-term care is to simply spend your entire life savings. You go into the nursing home, you pay private pay for as long as you have assets to pay that private pay rate, and then at that point you go on to Medicaid. There's no reason to ever do it like this because there are things that can be done to benefit you, but will accelerate your Medicaid eligibility. So this is something that if you are in this situation where you have a loved one where you think at some point down the road they're going to have to go to a nursing home, come in and see a qualified attorney sooner rather than later. If you wait until the last minute, you're looking at a crisis spend down that costs a lot more money than a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust does, and that costs a lot more money than maybe doing a long-term care insurance policy would. So if you have questions about this, set up a meeting to speak with a Medicaid attorney that is licensed and qualified in your state of residence. Hi, this is Laura. If you like the video that you just watched, please feel free to subscribe or just hit the like button. You can also go to my website, which is lbesq.com. So that's LB as in Laura Blumensteel, ESQ as in I am a lawyer. You can go there and you'll see a lot of blog posts, and I try to have a lot of educational material up on my website. I update it regularly. So if you want to go over and get more information on any of the things that I've been talking about today, please feel free to check it out at lbesq.com. Thanks so much.